In a valley where the hills curved like gentle waves and the air smelled of wildflowers, two houses stood side by side. One was modest, with ivy curling around its wooden beams and laughter spilling from its windows. The other was grand, newly built with tall iron gates, marble steps, and gardens so vast they seemed to stretch into the horizon. One morning, the quiet lane trembled with the thunder of hoofs. 10 carriages rolled in, each piled high with trunks, silks, and toys that glittered like treasures from a king's vault. Villagers gathered to watch, whispering in awe. Among them was Shalina, a bright-eyed girl from the cottage, who tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mother, look! So many carriages! The king himself must have sent them." Her mother smiled, stirring the stew on the hearth. "Child, it matters not how many toys one owns. What matters are the friends who share them." But curiosity tugged at Shalina's heart. She dashed outside, where her friend David was already watching. Together they saw the newcomers, Frank and Maria, children of the officer who now lived in the grand house. Their mother, Mrs. Stewart, stood tall and stern, her voice sharp as winter frost. She scolded her children for running too freely, for laughing too loudly, for forgetting their manners. Yet Frank and Maria's eyes sparkled with longing, for beyond the gates they saw Shalina and David playing hopscotch, their laughter ringing like bells. Soon whispers filled the village. "The officer is close to the king," said one man. "His wife is proud," muttered another. But children cared little for titles. They cared for games, for laughter, for the joy of chasing one another across fields. And though Mrs. Stewart forbade her children from mingling with ruffians, fate had already woven a thread between them. For in the countryside, where storms brewed as swiftly as friendships, no gate could keep joy from finding its way inside. Days passed, and Frank and Maria grew restless. "Mother," they pleaded, "what is the point of leaving town if we cannot play outdoors? Father says there is a great lake nearby." Mrs. Stewart sighed, her sternness softening. "Very well, you may go, but only if you finish your breakfast. Sebastian will drive you." Soon baskets were packed, bread and cheese, strawberries and cream, chocolate rolls and lemonade. The children squealed with delight, though their mother warned, "Most of this will return untouched, but enjoy yourselves." At the lake, the world shimmered like a dream. The water mirrored the sky, and trees whispered secrets in the breeze. Frank and Maria ran, laughing, until Frank tried to climb a tree and slipped. Pain shot through his foot, and he cried out. From the bushes came Shalina and David, who had been playing nearby. Without hesitation, David tore his own shirt and bound Frank's foot. "Quick, soak this in water," he said. "It will keep the swelling down." Frank blinked in surprise. "But that was your shirt." David shrugged. "What matters is that you're well." They shared apples plucked straight from the tree, laughter echoing across the lake. For a moment, wealth and poverty vanished. There were only children, games, and kindness. The countryside was alive with whispers that day. Clouds gathered like armies, shadows stretching across the meadows. Frank and Maria had returned from their picnic, their hearts still glowing with the kindness of Shalina and David. Yet Mrs. Stewart remained stern, warning them not to mingle with ruffians. But children's hearts are stubborn. When the sky was clear again, Frank and Maria slipped outside, hoping to find their new friends. "Come quickly," Maria whispered. "Mother is away in town. We can play before she returns." Shalina and David welcomed them with open arms. "Come inside," Shalina said. "We'll show you our toys." Laughter filled the cottage, bouncing off the walls like sunlight. They played hopscotch, hide and seek, and invented new games with sticks and stones. For a while, the world was only joy. Then the storm struck. It came without warning, a roar of thunder that shook the earth. The sky turned black, winds howled like wolves, and rain lashed the ground. The children huddled together, eyes wide with fear. Outside, trees bent and groaned, one crashing down with a terrible crack. Shalina saw it falling toward Frank. With a cry, she leapt forward, pulling him away just in time. The tree slammed into the earth, splinters flying, but Frank was safe. His heart pounded, his breath ragged. "You saved me," he whispered, trembling. The storm raged on, but inside the cottage David lit a lantern. "Stay close," he said. "Nature makes noise, but it will pass." He brewed broth, warm and soothing, and handed bowls to Frank and Maria. "Eat, it will calm you." Hours passed. The storm roared, then softened, then finally drifted away. Silence fell, broken only by the drip of rain from the eaves. The children sighed in relief, their fear melting into gratitude. When Mrs. Stewart returned, her face pale with worry, she rushed to her children. "My babies, are you all right?" Maria clung to her mother. "We were so scared, but Shalina pulled Frank from under the tree, and David kept us safe." Mrs. Stewart turned to Shalina, her sternness breaking. "You saved my son. I do not know how to repay you." Shalina's mother stepped forward, her voice gentle. "There are some things in life that cannot be paid for. Friendship is one of them." Mrs. Stewart bowed her head. For the first time she saw not ruffians, but brave children who had cared for her own. And in that moment, the walls around her heart began to crumble. The storm had passed, but its memory lingered like a shadow. Mrs. Stewart, once proud and distant, now saw the truth. Her children's joy did not lie in silks or toys, but in the laughter of friends. She invited Shalina and David's family into the grand house, offering tea and cakes. Yet Shalina's mother shook her head gently. "I do not want my children to grow used to luxuries they cannot have," she said. "But they need friends. Let them play in the garden where laughter is free." Mrs. Stewart paused, then smiled for the first time. "You are right. What children love is not the cost of their toys, but the joy of sharing them." From that day forward, the gates of the grand house were no longer barriers. Frank and Maria played wholeheartedly with Shalina, David, and the other village children. Sometimes they showed their friends their toy room, filled with dolls and wooden horses. Other times they joined in games of hopscotch, hide and seek, and stories told under the stars. Together they invented new games, blending the worlds of wealth and simplicity into something magical. The garden became a kingdom of laughter, the lake became a stage for adventures, and the storm, once feared, became a tale they retold with pride. How Shalina's courage saved Frank, how David's kindness soothed them, how friendship was stronger than thunder. Years later, villagers still spoke of the day the officer's family arrived with 10 carriages. They remembered the stern mother who softened, the children who found joy beyond riches, and the storm that bound them together. The tale became a lesson whispered to children, that wealth without kindness is empty, that toys without friends are silent, that courage and compassion are treasures greater than gold. And so in the valley where 2 houses stood side by side, laughter never ceased. For friendship had built a bridge stronger than gates, richer than jewels, and more enduring than storms.